to request your profile to be created. Step 2. A link will be sent to the email provided for activation of the account. Step 3. Click on the link to activate the profile and change the password immediately. Step 4. For subsequent access, use the link provided here. In case of forgotten password, use Forgot Password link to create a new one. Step 5. After login, click on Assets to submit records, and if the client has subsidiary, you can create more users and manage users. Unclaimed Financial Assets Authority. Receive, safeguard, reunite.
Well, a very good evening to you. You are just in time for Channel 1 News Hour. Let's now focus on what's coming up in the highlights. BBI Implementation Matrix. 300 lawmakers endorsed the BBI report and a national referendum on its proposals. The ghost of post-poll violence. Lawyer Paul Gisheru surrenders to the International Criminal Court to face charges of bribery of prosecution witnesses. And a call to action. Media organizations are to effectively address the plight of journalists. Welcome to the program. My name is Catherine Achieng'a. Our sign language interpreter this evening is Simon Karoda. Remember, you can also follow us on Facebook, Twitter, and YouTube. We are live on all those 3 channels as well. But first things first, let's focus on the stories that have been shaping the day throughout today. And we begin with the latest from Naivasha, where the Building Bridges to Unity Task Force report has received the backing of a majority of legislators with a pledge to have the document decided in a national referendum. The legislators from both sides of the political divide endorsed the report at the end of a 2-day consultative forum in Naivasha led by President Uhuru Kenyatta and opposition leader Raila Odinga. Kevin Washira with details of the resolutions by the MPs.
Close to 300 members of the National Assembly and the Senate attended a 2-day retreat in Naivasha to build consensus on the BBI report. President Uhuru Kenyatta and opposition leader Raila Odinga led the meeting, whose resolutions were highlighted in a statement by Senate Minority Leader James Orengo.
The process called the Building Bridges Initiative was one that went round the country seeking the view of all Kenyans, which has culminated in the report that we now have. The report seeks to ensure that no one is left behind by creating shared prosperity.
In the statement, they called for shared prosperity for all Kenyans to enjoy a share of the national resources. The statement further said BBI creates a development fund. The statement further said BBI creates a ward development fund which will be allocated 5% of shareable revenue as an additional measure to ensure resources reach the grassroots.
Shared prosperity means that all communities in Kenya, from all corners, have a share in the resources. Yes. One of the methods that this will be achieved is by increasing the minimum amount of shareable revenue to the counties from 15% to 35%, ensuring that greater resources percolate to every corner of Kenya. Further, it creates a ward development fund which will be resourced with 5% of shareable allocation.
The Senate Minority Leader said BBI outlines measures to ensure women, the youth and persons living with disability participate in national leadership and decision-making.
The youth are equally catered for under BBI. Our youth have a host of issues that have prevented them from achieving their full potential. The issues have hampered the youth, and they're now faced with numerous problems that make their lives a bit of a misery. BBI seeks to give the youth a chance to get out of poverty by creating opportunities to make an income, to get financial support for their businesses, to ensure that they are paid promptly and they have greater participation in the tendering processes.
Meanwhile, in Nairobi, Deputy President William Ruto said it is possible for the country to strike a consensus on the Building Bridges Initiative report. He said a mechanism to bring together all divergent views of the initiative would spare the country from being plunged into unnecessary contest.
And I think we will all be respectful to what has been said about building consensus and about reasoning together, if we can find the mechanism and the place when all of us can come together. It's not necessary to divide the country. It's not necessary to create unnecessary division. And whatever it is, in this scenario, there could be those who are looking for how to make money from the referendum. I want to advise them there are many tenders they can apply so that they can make money. Let them leave this constitutional making as a Kenyan process. There are those who think they can use this for politics. Let them wait for 2022. We will all do politics. For now, let us find a mechanism for this constitutional moment so that and bring all Kenyans together.
The Deputy President spoke when he met more than 1,000 Kamba professionals in Makueni, Kitui and Machakos counties. Kevin Washira, Channel 1 News.
And now Paul Gisheru, a Kenyan lawyer, has surrendered to the International Criminal Court in the Netherlands to face charges of corruptly influencing prosecution witnesses to withdraw or recant their evidence. Now, the court's pretrial Chamber 2 had issued a warrant in 2015 citing Gisheru and another Kenyan, Philip Kipkoech Bet, of involvement in offences against the administration of justice by allegedly interfering with 6 witnesses of the prosecution.
In a statement issued Monday, the court said lawyer Paul Gisheru surrendered to the Netherlands authority in compliance with the arrest warrant issued by the court in 2015 for offences against the administration of justice. The court had implicated him and compatriots Philip Kipkoech Bet and journalist Walter Baraze for alleged involvement in corruptly influencing prosecution witness, resulting in their withdrawal or recanting their statements. One of the 6 witnesses, according to the prosecution, was taken by Bet and another individual to Gisheru, who allegedly negotiated and agreed that 5 million shillings would be paid in exchange of the witness's withdrawal as the prosecution's witness. The prosecution stated that subsequently, on 27th and 30th April 2013, Gisheru allegedly paid the witness of 600,000 shillings and 400,000 shillings. Bet is still not in ICC custody, but Baraza lost the case in August 2019 against his extradition to the Netherlands-based court. 6 Kenyans, Uhuru Kenyatta, William Ruto, Hussein Ali, Francis Mudhaura, Henry Kosgei and Joshua Sang had initially been charged by the ICC following the skirmishes that erupted after the 2007 general election before the charges were dropped. Caroline Kamar reporting for Channel 1 News Hour.
And now Kenya joined the world in marking the International Day to End Impunity Against Journalists amid grim statistics that indicate at least 3 in 4 journalists have faced official restrictions, obstruction or intimidation in reporting on COVID-19. Now, a report by the International Federation of Journalists also indicates 2/3 of staff and freelance journalists have suffered pay cuts, lost revenue and job losses as a result of the pandemic. Jacqueline Wambiru with details of the wars that are facing journalists in their quest to tell you the news stories.
The celebrations of the International Day to End Impunity Against Journalists revealed the continued plight facing journalists in their work. A report by the International Federation of Journalists painting the grim realities following a survey that indicated at least 2/3 of journalists and freelance journalists have suffered financial loss as a result of the pandemic, including job losses, loss of revenue, pay cuts, cancelled commissions or worsening work conditions.
At least 600 journalists who have lost their jobs or others suffering massive pay cuts. Kuna watu wamekatwa up to 70% salary.
What is the media environment like in the newsroom? How are journalists treated? And between March and now, if a media house has refused to pay journalists and they have been evicted from the houses and using the COVID as an excuse, and for media organizations, some of them that have been making millions and have insurance and so on, then that is no excuse. That translates to impunity.
Principal Secretary in the State Department of Broadcasting and Telecommunications, Esther Koimet, presiding over the celebrations, challenged media owners to put in place proper mechanisms to caution journalists from the losses and enable them to perform their work independently in the wake of the pandemic.
The government acknowledges the role played by independent and professional media in national development and will continue to extend all necessary support to the sector to enable it discharge its duties. The government is keen to establish a media fund that would ensure sustainability in the industry, which is essential for a free and independent media that serves the public interest. It's clear that the need for reforms in the media ecosystem is necessary to make the outlets vibrant and enable them play their watchdog role in the society.
Media stakeholders also called on media organizations to put in place alternate mechanisms to aid in revenue streaming so as to cushion journalists. At the same time, they decried the delays in bringing to justice perpetrators of crimes against journalists and media workers, calling for access to justice for journalists who continue to face violations in the line of duty.
We receive an average of 3 cases per week of journalists who have been either attacked by police officers, political party supporters, and militia across the country.
The UN has also highlighted in a report that 1,200 journalists have been killed in the last 14 years for reporting news and bringing information to the public. The report further indicates that the figures do not include other challenges faced on a daily basis, including torture, enforced disappearances, arbitrary detention, intimidation, sexual attacks and harassment in both conflict and non-conflict situations. The day is marked in commemoration of the assassination of 2 French journalists in Mali on 2nd November 2013. Reporting for Channel 1 News, I'm Jackie Wambiru.
And now the Ministry of Health is warning health systems may be overrun as the number of COVID-19 cases continues to spike. In the latest update, Health Cabinet Secretary Mutahi Kagwe has asked county governments to strengthen their capacity to admit COVID-19 patients. This comes as the number of COVID-19 cases increased after 724 people tested positive for the virus, while 14 others have died in the last 24 hours, bringing the death toll to 1,027. Michael Mwadiga with the latest data by the Ministry of Health.
Health CS Mutahi Kagwe was in Malindi, Kilifi County, which is ranked at number 11 among counties worst affected by the coronavirus pandemic. It is here that he revealed the health systems are overstretched, warning counties against failing to boost their capabilities to handle COVID-19 cases.
It is citizen responsibility that can really help us in the containment measures that we are going to make. It is going to call for sacrifices once again. Sacrifices we can ill afford. But unfortunately, it is also sacrifices we have to make if we are going to save lives. We cannot afford to continue on this trend of 100 lives in 1 week as a result of COVID-19.
Kagwe warned with a positivity rate of 14.2%, there was need for the counties to make more sacrifices and equip health facilities and health workers in order to save lives.
I continue to urge the county governments to emulate what those who have invested in isolation beds, those who have invested in ICU beds, in HDU beds, to do so very quickly. Because it is very clear there will be no movement of patients from one county to another on grounds that if it escalates, if the virus continues to hit us in the manner that it is, it means that each county will have to take care of its own patients.
At the same time, he urged Kenyans to prepare for home-based care programs and the local administration, including law enforcers, to ensure COVID-19 burial protocols are followed forthwith.
We need to be prepared. Discuss it. I urge you to discuss it in homes and to ask yourselves how to manage yourself. If you live on your own, then you need to discuss with somebody that in the event that you become positive, you might have to stay in your home, but somebody else might have to visit you within the protocols that we have said. So, fellow Kenyans, this is just to say that this disease is with us as a community.
With Malindi being a tourist hub, Kagwe noted that the county government of Kilifi is partnering with the Italian government to open a private health wing with the state-of-the-art equipment, which will attend to visitors instead of being airlifted to other areas to receive medication.
Kilifi is one of the areas where serious research in Kemri is going on. Is one of the areas also we are training our people in research and therefore can be able to collaborate in the research area.
This comes as the country recorded 724 new positive cases from a sample size of 5,085 tests. The youngest patient is 1 year old and the oldest is 90 years old. 50 patients are on oxygen, 55 patients on supplementary oxygen, and 54 patients admitted in the ICU, while 10 are in the high dependence unit. A total of 248 patients have recovered from the disease, of which 178 are from the home-based care program. Reporting for Channel 1 News from Malindi in Kilifi County, I'm Michael Mondiga.
And now in a related story, motorists in Mombasa on Monday morning caught unawares as police conducted a crackdown on those flouting COVID-19 rules. Led by Mombasa County Commissioner Gilbert Kitio, the officers inspected vehicles to ensure compliance on social distancing and wearing of masks in the wake of a second wave of COVID-19 infections.
Mombasa-bound motorists flouting COVID-19 protocols had a difficult Monday morning after security officers nabbed motorists who were in violation of the COVID-19 protocols at Bonje roadblock. Mombasa County Commissioner Gilbert Kitio said following the rise in infections in Mombasa, where emergency hospital wards and isolation centers have recorded full occupancy, the government had to move in to reduce the infections and contain the pressure on health systems. 94 people have so far died from COVID-19 in Mombasa, while more than 3,000 others have been infected with the virus.
Ile statistics ambayo tuko nayo saa hii hapa Mombasa inaonyesha kwamba hospitali zetu zimejaa, especially zile za dharura ya COVID-19. Na tungependa watu wengi zaidi wapate hiyo ugonjwa na watupatie pressure hata zaidi. Kwa hivyo hiyo ndio maana ya exercise ya leo.
Passengers were also encouraged to wear masks and maintain social distance.
Hizi mabasi za long distance na hata matatu nyingi zimefanya compliance. Wamecomply almost 99%. Wako na barakoa, wako na mask na wako na ile sanitizer. Lakini ile shida inakuwa tu ni kwamba wengine wanavaa mask na wanavalia kwenye shingo, ambaye ni mambo madogo ya kurekebisha.
Meanwhile, Maendeleo Chap Chap party leader Alfred Mutua says he has postponed his nationwide listening tours, citing an increase in COVID-19 cases. Mutua, who has expressed interest in the presidency, urged other leaders to end public gatherings in adherence to laid down health protocols. The Machakos governor, who wound up a 2-week tour of Mombasa and Kilifi counties, was due to embark on a tour of Kwale and Lamu counties. Beatrice Getonyenge-Tich, Channel 1 News.
Well, that story by Beatrice Gatonye brings us to our first break on Channel 1 News Hour. We will be back in a bit with more news, including business and sports. So stay tuned.
Babangu anafanya kazi ya watchman na mamangu kwa saizi ana kazi. Kwa mimi na sisters zangu wawili, Faith na Mercy. Nilikuwa class 7 na mimi nilikuanga top 3 kwa hiyo class. Sasa mimi nilikuwa nasikia tunaambiwa ati wewe uta-apply next to fly. Sasa sikuwa najua ni nini. Ni organization ya through Equity, Mastercard na KFW inasaidia the vulnerable people in the society waweze kupata education na waweze kupata mentoring. After tena 1 week hivi, hao wanafunzi wengi wenye wali-apply si ndio tumechaguliwa kupata hiyo scholarship. Kajua mimi ni student wa hasa wa Chavakali Boys High School. Miezi mbili zikapita, nikaanza kusikia rumors ati kuna corona. Principal akatuambia tunafaa turudi nyumbani. Equity walipigia babangu simu kuchukua kit fulani. Akapewa hiyo torch, solar, ready na hiyo timetable. Tulisikia vizuri sana juu inaweza hata kusaidia masita zangu wote. Juu pia kulikuwa na lessons za klasi yao hapo. Wakatuelezea watakuwa wanatuma stipend kununua chakula, sanitizers. Juu hatukuwa na kitu completely. Kwa na hope, kumbe kuna watu wanatujali. Hata kama tuko nyumbani, sasa tunasoma basi.
Tonight on KBC Channel 1.
Bogi Kibonyoski, leo tumeduka kambi hapa hivi County 016
for the Gengeton Festival. Kublo's Hitmaker will be on our link-up segment.
Where I come from, bottom is Wangla na Benga, but sasa na leta fusion. So, kind of venye nilikuwa naanza reception iko kwa poa sana.
Let's meet up at 10 p.m. to find out what went down in Machakos County, Ngumbwekse.
On the next episode of Corner.
Why do the boys stay?
Exactly. Not what can we do to keep them here, but why do they stay? What is missing in the boxing world?
You mean, what do people want to see that they can't?
Exactly.
The more painful things to do to a man than kill him.
Like ruining his career. Making everyone believe he's a washed-up loser. What secret was Mr. Richard Ayangi hiding that was so terrible? He had to bribe a man by buying his son.
Unajua nini mama? Niko karibu kwenda shule. Na sitaki kuwa na stress kukuhusu.
Kristi, hebu rudi shuleni.
Wewe enda mtuwakilishe sisi wale tulishindwa na masomo vipoa.
When Angela and Christy meet at the university, their bond somehow clicks.
That is somewhere up there in the sky on his way to China. I'll never forget when he took us to Singapore. Wow, it was fun.
Followed by a friendship that would defy their parallel backgrounds.
Since umezoea shower, good luck inside there.
How is this door shut?
Kuma bezi nuko mshoishikilie mlango kwa frame.
This new territory presents all manner of fasts as influence, temptation, family histories, and peer pressure set in. The rest of their lives become a story of love, survival.
Wait. Please, mom. Kubali tu story tumalizane twende home.
Influence, backstabbing, jealousy, and revenge.
Nimeambiwa tu kule stage muonekana na minji fulani mkikama hapa mtaani.
You decided to sneak from the hostel and go to Ray's studio without consulting me or Tiff.
Join us on Tempted the Campus Diaries as we explore this hilarious, never-seen-before drama.
Hebu nilipe pesa zangu wewe.
With a touch to behold. A story of temptation.
Welcome back. If you're joining us, you're watching Channel 1 News Hour. Let's now move forward. And the Chief Justice David Maraga has challenged the Chief Registrar and the Director to streamline the management of political parties to avoid heightened political tensions. Maraga, who presided over her swearing-in ceremony alongside her 2 deputies, urged her to also crack the whip against briefcase political parties. The Director pledged to ensure all political outfits are inclusive and serve the interests of Kenyans.
Will faithfully and fully, impartially, and to the best of my ability, discharge the trust and perform the functions and exercise the powers devolving upon me by virtue of this appointment without fear, favor, bias, affection, ill will, or prejudice. So help me God.
The new Registrar of Political Parties, Andy Ritu, took oath of office Monday in a ceremony that was presided over by Chief Justice David Maraga. Maraga using the opportunity to challenge the new Registrar of Political Parties to enhance the management of political outfits to end the culture of violence during nominations.
I don't need to tell you that the kind of things we have seen some parties do are anything but legal. It is your duty to rein them in so that we have a cohesive society. To do this, you must be bold and fearless, but always fair. You are at the center of intense competition where the stakes are very high and emotions will run very high. Not only will you have a resounding impact on the individuals and the parties involved, but also the country's political climate.
Our aim is to try as much as possible within the law to institutionalize the political parties by focusing on how political parties are governed, training and capacity building of political parties, so that political parties are responsive to the public that they are supposed to serve.
Nderitu, who is taking up office as the substantive registrar in nearly 10 years, vowed to ensure that all political parties embrace minority groups and ensure inclusivity.
We are aware that the debate is live on participation of women, persons with disability, the youth, and Kenyans in all their diversity. And our focus is to ensure that Kenyans actually get the service from our office from all spheres of life, and to ensure that the inclusion processes are looking at Kenya as a country that is full of diversity.
President Uhuru Kenyatta nominated Andy Ritu to serve in the position for a 6-year non-renewable term on September 8, 2020. She is taking over the position from Lucy Ndungu, who was serving in an acting capacity. She was sworn in office alongside her 2 assistants, Ali Abdullahi and Christine Tabu. The National Heroes Council members also took oath of office. Among those in the Heroes Council include Global Teacher Prize winner Peter Tabichi, marathoner Eliud Kipchoge, and Mau Mau veteran Gitu Kahengeri. For Channel 1 News, I'm Safin Achieng'a.
And now the 588 million shilling graft case facing former Kiambu Governor Ferdinand Waitito has finally kicked off after Waitito presented himself in court on Monday. Waitito, who has skipped 3 previous court sessions, had sought the postponement of the trial on grounds of ill health, but his application was dismissed by Senior Principal Magistrate Thomas Nzioka.
Ferdinand Waitito turned up for his trial after missing 3 court proceedings on claims that he was suffering from COVID-19. A medical examination on Waitito recommended laboratory and imaging tests to evaluate his current state of health. The test included that of COVID-19, a high-resolution CT scan of the chest, as well as a total blood count. Doctors who examined Waitito said they can only hand in a conclusive report once the results are available.
I've considered what you have all said, and I've said I'm appreciative in the effort that you have made, the DPP as well as the doctors and the IO. And we are grateful that he has been treated and somehow discharged. All is still to attend further investigation according to the recommendations of the doctors.
Senior Principal Magistrate Thomas Nzioki had last week ordered the former governor to present himself at the Kenyatta National Hospital for medical examination. The former governor was in July 2019 charged with fraud, conflict of interest, dealing with suspect property, money laundering and abuse of office.
Given those circumstances in the interest of justice, how do we serve the end of justice? We proceed today, up until sometimes 2 or 3, we stop, then give time allocations, take in mind that he'll be attending, is going to be attended for by the doctors, probably sometime next year, and hopefully it will be better by then. And for us at least to understand that we have a hearing to undertake, which we need to carry on with. So before I go to writing down, that will be the decision by this court. So look at your papers, know that we have got a hearing within the next 10 months.
The allegations will later cost the former governor his job after members of the Kiambu County Assembly successfully sought his impeachment. For Channel 1 News, I am Emily K. Badi.
A quick clarification there. It's Senior Principal Magistrate Thomas Nzioki and not Nzioka, as I had mentioned earlier. Now to the counties where Education Cabinet Secretary Professor George Magoha is warning schools against flouting the Ministry of Education directive. Magoha read the Riot Act to an undisclosed school, which he says is currently conducting physical classes for learners in all grades in violation of the government's directive. Meanwhile, Kennedy Michira Mainya, the MC of Kiamakoma Ward in Masaba South, has died after a short illness. More details in the county briefs.
Residents of Kiamakoma Ward, Masaba South, Kisii County are mourning the death of the area MCA Kennedy Michira Mainya. Mainya passed away while he was being transferred to Nairobi for specialized treatment. The late MCA was admitted briefly at Oasis Hospital in Kisii Town before he was referred for specialized treatment in Nairobi. He, however, passed away en route to Nairobi. Residents have been warned against speculating on his cause of death and await post-mortem results.
Sisi kama County Assembly Service Board na wajumbe wanajua, tutafanya iwezavyo tuhakikishe kwamba mahali usaidizi inataikana tunapeana kulingana na vile inataikana.
Separately in Nairobi, Education ACS Professor George Magoha was in Mukuru Primary School to assess the progress of learners. It is here that he ordered an unnamed school from conducting physical classes for other learners who are not in grade 4 or candidates.
We are physically inspecting at 100%. And after the 100% inspection, payment is going to be given.
At the same time, he reiterated that the government's commitment to ensure safety of learners in the wake of the pandemic, citing the situation in Miranda Boys, is under control.
I think that by Friday, we shall be in a very good state to tell the nation that this exercise is complete.
Elsewhere, health workers under the national government and the county of Nairobi are on strike to push for promotions. They say they have stagnated in the same job group for 15 years. And despite the ministry promising to effect promotions to the affected 15 cadres, it has not been honored. The strike will affect, among others, port health facilities, including airports, border points and all port entries.
We are saying health workers are not going to go back until they get promotion and recognition. We further want to appeal to his head of public service to come in and to intervene so that service delivered to Kenyans it becomes a business continuity.
In the meantime, 5 people, among them a family of 3 from Maileine Trading Center in Nyandarua North area, are nursing serious burn wounds after a leaking gas cylinder exploded. The injured were taken to the Nyahururu County and Referral Hospital, where medics have said they are out of danger. Families have been warned to ensure cylinders are properly sealed to avoid such incidences.
Kuna kugana kwa kichwa, mguu na mkono. Moto, unajua gas nikiweka nje, seed flow. Sijui kama moto itatoka huko chini, niliona moto ikitoka huko chini.
Najua watu siku hizi wanajitengenezea vitu juu hatujui kama ni original au si original. Mimi siwezi nikajua original na si original. Lakini ni mzuri serikali ingilie hii maneno, iangalie mambo ya gas. Hii ni mara ya pili katika Nyahururu kuwa na kesi kama hii.
Finally, over 200 sand harvesters have protested the blocking of access routes to mining sites by the ownership of Kidong Ranch, a 76,000-acre piece of land between Narok and Nakuru and Kajiado. The irate group are threatening to destroy a ring of fences erected around the land if the government doesn't step in and address their plight. The harvesters say the land is a source of livelihoods for over 500 households.
Wanataka kututoa by force, kuingia ndani ya mamto, kuweka matinga, ianze kupakilia magari, na ndiye riziki yetu kama watu wa kijiko.
Tumechata hiyo mchanga kwa muda mrefu sana na hatujai waona, sijui wanakuanga wapi. Wanakuja kusema Kidong ni yao, wametufungia manjia.
Yusuf Farah, Channel 1.
And now U.S. President Donald Trump and his Democratic challenger Joe Biden are making their final pitches to voters in crucial states that could determine the outcome of the vote. The swing states could go either way, making them valuable prizes in the race to win 270 electoral college votes. This year, analysts have identified Florida, Pennsylvania, Michigan, Wisconsin, North Carolina, and Arizona as the top battleground states.
President Donald Trump and Democrat Joe Biden have made last-ditch efforts to woo voters in battleground states ahead of Tuesday's poll. This year, analysts have identified Florida, Pennsylvania, Michigan, Wisconsin, North Carolina, and Arizona as the top battleground states. In the other three states, however, it is too close to call. More than 90 million Americans have already cast their ballots in early voting, putting the country on course for its highest turnout in a century. The final push for votes follows America's worst week for new coronavirus cases, with more than 1,000 people dying each day. Reporting for Channel 1 News, I'm Jackie Wambiru.
The procedure of reporting assets to the Unclaimed Financial Assets Authority simplified in the following easy steps. Step 1. Write an email to holders at ufaa.go.ke to request your profile to be created. Step 2. A link will be sent to the email provided for activation of the account. Step 3. Click on the link to activate the profile and change the password immediately. Step 4. For subsequent access, use the link provided here. In case of forgotten password, use Forgot Password link to create a new one. Step 5. After login, click on Assets to submit records, and if the client has subsidiary, you can create more users and manage users. Unclaimed Financial Assets Authority. Receive, safeguard, reunite.
That is when we've seen the support of Equity, because the loan which I took to pay teachers, it has been rescheduled to 2021.
Next on.
And I sing with Paris
we are not going to stop because there is corona.
Next on.
Didn't tell her that I left you locked up, did you?
I would have loved to tell her that. What's wrong? Jorge's downstairs. I'm gonna tell him to look for a locksmith.
I have a strong feeling he's threatening her.
What should we do?
I have too many problems to have to put up with your complaints right now. You're there already. Just enjoy the hotel, and then go back to take care of the old lady.
I know perfectly well where you are. This time you're not gonna be as lucky. So tell your woman to be very careful.
I've always loved you. And I will always love you.
In Love with Ramon.
Let's now focus on some business news, and regional governments have moved closer in establishing a regional infrastructure master plan in order to enhance regional physical and economic integration. The Intergovernmental Development Authority Director Istigan Abdallah has said stakeholders' engagement for the plan have been drafted, with members agreeing to ratify them in a month's time to beat the December 2020 deadline.
The Regional Infrastructure Master Plan IRIMP was approved in February 2017 and signed in May the same year in Nairobi, with the objective of identifying for investment purposes priority regional infrastructure projects in the sectors of transport, energy, information and communication technologies and transboundary waters.
The study is now timely and would really help in shaping our regional future in the long term. It is timely because we are currently having the second continental master plan for infrastructure at the PIDA-2, the PIDA-2, which is an African plan.
Speaking during an IGAD forum held in Nairobi, delegates noted the strides in the development of new regional infrastructure projects such as the Ethiopia-Kenya Power Interconnector and Great Ethiopian Renaissance Dam. However, the stakeholders raised concerns over the slow pace of implementation, saying underdeveloped infrastructure still remains a major constraint in the IGAD region. The problem is exacerbated by lack of a regional master plan of priority projects to be built among IGAD member states.
Dealing with challenges of infrastructure, understand the significance and expectations from the citizens of coming up with a clear infrastructure system that not only addresses the bottlenecks of our trade and investment and economics right now, but to set Kenya as a country to contribute to Africa's integration process.
In terms of its impact from the bank side, we think that it's going to lead to greater investment flows into the region and its member states.
The two-day Nairobi meeting will see IGAD member states dialogue and consult on the way forward of the projects and offer the platform for stakeholders to support and back the development of the IRIMP among NGOs, non-state actors and other stakeholders. The planned official completion of the master plan is December 2021. The IGAD region consists of 8 countries, namely Djibouti, Eritrea, Ethiopia, Kenya, Somalia, South Sudan, Sudan and Uganda. Alan Naoko, Channel 1 Business.
And now Kenya risks losing 40% of its horticulture exports to Europe due to the use of banned pesticides. The European Union has already imposed stricter measures on Kenyan vegetables like beans, tightening its checks on residue levels of its horticulture produce, according to the Kenya Fresh Producers Consortium. Elsewhere, paint manufacturer Kansai Plascon has rolled out a campaign aimed at encouraging the use of environmentally friendly paints in the Kenyan market.
The European Union, which is Kenya's main market for horticultural produce, returned Kenya to the list of countries that use high levels of harmful pesticides in the horticultural produce. The requirements by the union saw all beans from Kenya subjected to a 10% mandatory sampling, with excessive levels of pesticide residues attracting penalties. Kenya's horticultural industry last year earned the country 25 billion shillings, making it one of the top forex earners in the agricultural sector. Fresh Produce Consortium of Kenya Chief Executive Ojapat Okesegere says horticultural produce valued at billions of shillings and destined for the European market has been destroyed following the presence of the false codling moth. To help minimize the risk of total ban, the county government of Nakuru has dispatched agricultural extension officers to train horticultural farmers on the mandatory standards their produce is expected to meet in the European Union and other export markets, or risk total ban by the union.
And now to some good news for Kenya, which has been voted Africa's leading golfing destination, presenting a major boost to Kenya's struggling tourism sector. Kenya scooped the award ahead of African golfing powerhouses of South Africa, Egypt and Morocco. The World Golf Awards, which were founded in 2014, recognizes and rewards excellence in golf tourism, courses and golf destinations. Let's take a look.
Kenya's dalliance with golf dates back to more than 100 years, with the country having more than 40 world-class golf courses. The government and the private sector have been working to market the country as a premier golfing destination on the African continent. The Magical Kenya Open Golf Championships, which is part of the Elite European Tour, has grown in stature to become a global top golfing event, attracting some of the best players in the world. These efforts appear to be bearing fruit, with the 7th Annual World Golf Awards naming Kenya as the leading golfing destination in Africa this year. Kenya managed to outstate continent's favourite South Africa, Egypt and Morocco. Karen Country Club was also voted Kenya's best golf course, while the Great Rift Valley Country Lodge and Golf Resort won the award for Kenya's best golf resort. Australia scooped the world's best golf destination award, with the world's best golf course going to Georgia's Augusta National Golf Club, while South Africa's Pinnacle Point Golf Course was voted Africa's best golf course. The Kenya Tourism Board has said the award is proof of the strides that Kenya has made in the development of golf over the years. Kenya is home to the only PGA Golf, which has been the host of Magical Kenya Ladies Open for the last 2 years.
And now cotton farmers in Busia County have been urged to embrace high-yielding pest-resistant cotton varieties if they are to reap big in the coming harvesting seasons. Experts have advised farmers to shift to the new hybrid BT cotton variety from conventional cotton, which has up to a 90% germination rate, over their predecessors that have between 40 to 45 germination percentages.
According to local plant breeders, BT cotton has been genetically modified to produce a protein that can kill the destructive insects that destroy cotton crops. BT crops have been shown to reduce pesticide use. BT cotton contains traits for drought tolerance, which can help increase productivity on farms by at least 10%.
Kwa sababu BT inatoa mazao mara tatu ya ile pamba ya kawaida. Nafikiri miaka kama mitatu ine hivi tunaweza kuwa tunakaribia kubridge hiyo gap ya shortage.
Dr. Charles Waturu, a lead scientist for BT cotton research, observed that the number of balls realized from the fields is almost the same as what farmers are reporting that they arrived at during the research that recorded more than 40 balls per plant. Christopher Ndongole, one of the cotton farmers in Bukiri, Samia sub-county, stated that the new BT variety has shown promising yields with capability of producing at least 80 balls per plant. Ndongole, a cotton farmer from the past 20 years, said that this variety is pest-resistant, acknowledging that he only sprays once as a routine.
Hii pamba iko tofauti sana na ile. Kitu nimeona kwanza inastahimili drought. Hii pamba nimeipanda imekaa zaidi ya mwezi moja bila ya mvua. Mvua iliponyesha tu mara moja ukaona performance vile imekuwa, na inaweza kuwa na balls mara tatu ya ile pamba ya zamani.
Of course it's not going to be a process that requires just one season. It's going to be a long-term process, but capacity building takes time and is very, very important for Kenya, so that the farmers are aware what is involved in the production of these hybrids.
Stakeholders are now in negotiation with the Kenya Agricultural and Livestock Research Organization to start some trials to capacity build farmers to start producing hybrid seeds locally. This will also ensure that farmers are aware of what is involved in the production of hybrid cotton seeds and reduce importation of more seeds. Alan Naoko, Channel 1 Business.
Let's now get all sporty, and we start off with football, where Harambee Stars players and the members of their technical bench have undergone a mandatory COVID-19 tests as they checked into camp ahead of their two-legged Africa Cup of Nations AFCON qualifier against Comoros. The first leg will be played at the Kasarani Stadium on November 11th, while the second leg has been slated for November the 15th.
18 local-based players have reported to camp and are set to be joined by their foreign-based counterparts starting November 5th. The national team kicked off residential training Monday evening. Kenya is placed second in Group G of the 2021 Africa Cup of Nations qualifiers with 2 points after identical 1-1 draws with Togo and powerhouse Egypt. The first leg will be played at the Kasarani Stadium on November 11 under floodlights, while the second leg has been slated for November 15. Karanja David for Channel 1 Sports.
And now 12-time Kenyan Premier League champions AFC Leopards have unveiled new head coach Thomas Trucha on a 2-year contract. Now Trucha, 47, takes the reins from his assistant Anthony Kimani, who has been serving in an acting capacity since January 2020. AFC Leopards has been busy in the transfer window bolstering its squad ahead of the new season. Notable signees who have joined the side include former club captain Duncan Otieno, who has rejoined the team from Kana FC of Zambia. Harrison Mwendwa snapped up from Kariobangi Sharks, and Congolese midfielder Fabrice Mugeni, among others. Trucha's immediate task will be on November 20th when Leopards take on Western Stima in their first of the 5 open fixtures released by Football Kenya Federation. And so United left it late to knock out MCF in post-match penalties to book a place in the second-tier National Super League in the Division 1 League promotion playoff played at Utalii grounds here in the capital, Nairobi. Now, the match had ended 1-1 in regulation time.
After a cagey first half, Luamba Bebeto put MCF ahead in the 65th minute. Soy United then pulled one back in the 77th minute through Timothy Muganda for a 1-1 scoreline. Neither of the sides could manage a winner in time, and in the subsequent shootout, Soy United scored 10 against MCF's 9 to seal a slot in the National Super League.
I can say from the start, they were cracking. My defense was not so well compact. They were vulnerable to being scored, but our keeper carried the day, and it did motivate my players and the team as a whole. So we kept on fighting, knowing something may happen.
The game was fair, officiating was fair, but unfortunately we lost some chances in the first half. Though in the second half the team came out well. We scored, but I thought we would defend the one goal. But unfortunately, they got that chance and they scored that goal.
And now Gareth Bale's first goal since resigning from Tottenham has helped his side beat Brighton to go second in the Premier League table. The Wolves forward powered home a cross by Sergio Reguilon past debutant Brighton keeper Robert Sanchez, his first past goal since May 2013.
In an action-packed game, Harry Kane put Spurs ahead from the penalty spot, his 149th Premier League goal after a video assistant referee check deemed Adam Lallana had fouled the England captain.
So Harry Kane, who scored against Brighton in the home win last season, scores the penalty.
Tariq Lamptey scored a controversial. In Serie A, host Sampdoria played to a 1-0 draw against Genoa. Jakub Jankto put Sampdoria ahead.
Tonelli stretching back. Here's Larea. Falls for Scamacca.
In other matches, Lazio lost 4-3 to Torino, Napoli trounced Sassuolo 2-0, while AS Roma humbled Fiorentina 2-0.
Well, that's it from the Channel 1 news team tonight. As always, thank you, Kenya, for watching. Of course, remember we have been live on YouTube, Twitter, as well as on Facebook. And some of you just leaving us a brief comment on what you are watching and telling us where you're watching us from. So allow me just to acknowledge some of you. I may not be able to name all of you, but at least I'll mention a few who have just left a comment on Facebook. We have John Tenyagudi, Derek D. Bryan, Kelvano Kunsley, Peter Brown, Owen Gibbs, and Kari, you say you're in Karai, and Kai Abumpamya, Josephat Aguero, John Hissa, Rose Peter, Enos Omondi, Sam Dunda, I think I can't be able to take all of you. Jackson, Kialo, all leaving comments for us here where you're watching us live on Facebook, Twitter, as well as on YouTube. This is where we put a cap on the program, but of course, the weather report is up next with Yusuf Farah. My name is Catherine Achieng'a. Our sign language interpreter this evening is Simon Karoda. Let's do this again tomorrow. Do have yourself a good night. God bless you. Let's take a look at how your weather looks like with Yusuf Farah. Good night.
Eldoret has recorded the lowest temperatures in the country tonight, 11 degrees over there. Hello, my name is Yusuf Farah. Welcome to Channel 1 Weather Updates. Tonight, rainfall is expected in the northeast.